How's it going, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it. Kickstart a new week this Monday here, March 31st, right before April is right around the corner as of tomorrow. And today we have to get into the series as kickstarting here, Miami for the Mets against the Miami Marlins. How you doing, everybody? Wardy here, always excited, always happy to break down pregame some Mets baseball. And we're going to do exactly that here because not only am I going to break down the lineups that you see beside me, what are the Marlins rocking with, what are our Amazings rocking with, and a key focus of this conversation will be on Francisco Lindor. Lindor, we found out some key stats regarding his family as well as what he's utilizing bat-wise. We're going to talk about that all, and I'm going to reiterate some of these points that you guys will see in tonight's post-game show as well as our big Mets updates video that will drop early tomorrow morning like we usually do for pretty much a recap of the game before and other key notes that are miscellaneous from the actual game itself. But guys, let's get a quick roll call in here to everyone first chiming in live and on replay. Thank you guys kindly for smashing that like and subscribe button on your way in. Help us go to 100 likes by the end of the live show, and our replay viewers, it does mean a lot, as well as letting me hear from you guys in the comments down below, whether you're watching this live as we're going to interact and really process what are the Mets matching up against the Marlins for this three-game set. We have a lot to get into, a lot of fun, exciting updates on the platform to share in just a moment. But before I do all those things, let's do a roll call to see who's first chiming in. We got our guy Alex in here. How you doing? Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate that here. We got Shake Johnson, White Mike 2023. We got Eugene, Andres going up the list. Hey Jack, great member. Dave Kaplitz, my man. Dave, I will definitely be hitting up the P.O. Box in the coming days. Thank you so much for whatever you sent my way, as always. Abe, how you doing? Servo, how you doing? Sean, Steve, Jack, Musket, going up the list here. Stanley, Explosive, That Ford, Come One, Come All. We appreciate you guys greatly. Now, folks, a lot to get into in this one, which I'm very excited about, as I always am. There are a couple things I gotta do as quick plugs, and it starts with SeatGeek. If you guys haven't already, highly implore you all to check out our amazing sponsor here on SeatGeek. That way you guys get 10% off your next ticket order. That way, if it's for the Mets home opener right around the corner against the Blue Jays, or if you're gonna attend a game after that against Miami, which I will actually be attending, guys, barring changes, April 9th, it looks like that day game I'll be attending. First game at Citi Field this year. Can't wait. And it's all going to be in hand thanks to my friends at SeatGeek for making it happen. So for you guys as well, if you want Mets tickets, concert tickets, comedy show tickets, anything on the ticket front, use my promo code WARDY10 with my unique link. It'll be automatically added in the app once you use the link. And thank you so much in advance for doing exactly that. I have one other key update to share with each and every one of you that I'm very excited about. It's actually twofold. I said it's one key thing. It's two key things. But it has to do with this Marlins series. And it goes in hand with this pregame show because it has to do with the series preview as a whole, everybody. Folks, starting tomorrow, we are unveiling our official playback watch parties here on YouTube as well. And in case you guys don't know playback, I'm going to be brief. They are a revolutionary sports app in which thousands of people utilize every single day. And what it means is by simply clicking the link down below in the description for playback.tv/WardyNYM, my specific link that I have set up for you guys, for my event, we are doing our first Mets Marlins watch party. What that means is you guys will sign into your MLB TV subscription, should you have one, and you will watch the game live in real time with your guy Wardy, as I'll be sharing my own commentary and reactions throughout the game, and similarity to what we did in playoffs last year, but actually watching the game this time live in real time in the playback app, and it will be simulcasted here on YouTube as well. So that way, in case you guys don't have an MLB subscription and can't partake in the playback app, you can as well on YouTube. The only difference will be is that it'll show a scoreboard and won't actually show the game itself. Otherwise, I'm going to deal with copyright infringement, and that isn't fun. So it's going to be all automated, all set up. It's going to be an absolute blast. It'll be our first of weekly watch parties that we do every single week here throughout the course of the season with our friends at Playback. So if you guys want to watch the game in real time with your guy Wardy, we're all going to be in sync together, live reacting. I'll be clipping my reactions and probably posting them the following day on socials as well through our friends at Playback. And if you guys just want to chime into the live show on YouTube, that's perfectly fine too. But first show officially will be tomorrow, April 1st. I was toying between April 1st and April 2nd, but I realized that April 2nd, it's a 4:40 game, and I have a 5 o'clock Bleacher Report segment there from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday every single week. So that wasn't aligning schedule-wise. Tomorrow is, and it's a big one. Kodai Senga facing off against Sandy Alcantara. That's the biggest pitching matchup of the week. Implore you guys to check it out. We're going to have so much fun, and thank you so much as well for also checking out, guys. Our Wardy MLB YouTube channel dropped over the past couple days, and we came out with our first video breaking down the pitching injury epidemic across Major League Baseball, and today we dropped our latest video which is pretty blunt and saying, are we glazing Shohei Ohtani too much? I had an in-depth conversation with you guys to check out on Shohei Ohtani. Great examples as to why I feel that this has been the case, why it's not necessarily great for the game, as great of a player that Shohei is. Please check out the content if you guys are interested in MLB-wide content every single week there in the Wardy MLB platform. Nothing's changing here on WardyNYM. We're just expanding, and we're giving more of our MLB-wide takes, just like I do in the Bleacher Report app Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 p.m. sharp. Don't miss it, baby. All right, guys, now let's get back in this one and let's break down this pregame segment. And it isn't a Wardy stream without at least one jump scare that you just saw, so I apologize to everyone that just had to deal with my intro running for a hot second or so. But we got a lot to get into, and we have some fairly short period of time to do so. Dave with the $2 donation, thank you kindly for that. Mr. Smile will be coming off the bench tonight. I mean, you're stealing my thunder, Dave. Hey, this is my pregame show, but it might as well be yours, Dave, because you are bringing the info right away, and you couldn't be more right. Yes, according to Carlos Mendoza, Mets skipper Francisco Lindor will in fact be available off the bench for the Mets tonight, even with him having just welcomed his newborn son and KO, which I absolutely love. Or is it Koa? Oh, pardon me, not KO. I butchered it. It's Koa because it's KOA, and I had a flip-flop for whatever reason. So Koa, and I think the middle name is something along the lines of Armani, from what I saw was on the personalized blanket that they had for him right away. But congratulations to him, Katiana, and the entire Lindor family on welcoming their now newest piece of the puzzle. They have 2 daughters already. Now they have the future star shortstop for the Mets that will inevitably be here 20 years from now. I'm only half joking as I say that. But given the fact that Lindor and his family are now welcoming their son, one, you can expect a Lindor home run streak to hopefully kick up soon, because that's been a trend when his daughters have obviously arrived in previous years throughout the summers. And now we'll see what happens with his son Koa, but he will in fact be available off the bench, but he will not be starting tonight's Mets game, which means that all eyes will be on, yes, Luis Angel Acuna. So before we get on to Acuna, everybody, I do want to stay on the topic for the second of Acuna, because you don't just think of Luis Angel, you think of his older brother and Ronald Acuna Jr. And Ronald Acuna Jr. is hoping to have a healthy, productive year for the Atlanta Braves. And Atlanta really didn't do too much this past offseason, thinking, okay, we're getting guys back from injury, we're getting guys coming off of down years. We know that we expect and will be getting better production out of them in a healthy 2025, all things considered. But the Braves did make a little bit of a splash that we saw towards the end of the offseason by acquiring Jurickson Profar on a multi-year deal. Come to find out, folks, per multiple reports, and I'll let you guys be the judge as to how you feel about it, it looks like that might not be for long. Jurickson Profar is on the cusp of being suspended half the season, according to Mike Rodriguez, Mike Deportes, and I will emphasize that Mike Deportes swung and missed on a lot throughout the course of the offseason, so I'm not saying that this is a certainty by any stretch, but rather something that I wanted to relay to you guys, because this would negatively impact Atlanta naturally, who have started the year 0-4 against, funny enough, Profar's former team, the Padres, where he might have been juicing all last year. That went in hand, was an anomaly of a season for all we know, but Jurickson Profar may very well be on the shelf for the first half of the season. That's a brutal blow to them, as they did not do much at all to add, especially on the offensive end this past offseason, but Profar was one of their few exceptions. So we'll see if this actually becomes reality or not in the coming days, everybody, but we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that, as well as what you see right down there below. We're going to talk more on this later tonight and tomorrow. Francisco Lindor started using the so-called torpedo bat in Houston. Mendoza said he got them near the end of spring training. So Francisco Lindor, who's obviously a forward thinker with his offensive approach, is utilizing the torpedo bats. Another guy that we have seen, one of many across Major League Baseball outside the Yankees organization that have been utilizing them, but because the Yankees went and did the Bronx Bomber thing by quite literally hitting almost 10 home runs in one game against batting practice nasty, more like disgusting Nestor Cortez, and then everyone else incoming that came out thereafter. So we're going to talk a lot more on that. That is the key hot button topic across Major League Baseball right now. But yes, Lindor has been using that torpedo bat, but no, it's not something that he's been commonly using. He just started using that, according to these reports, as of late spring training heading into the regular season. So we'll see what that does, if at all, for Lindor's plate approach. But now let's get into these lineups, everybody, and let's start with the Miami Marlins. I'll be brief, guys. Like you, I don't know the majority of the Miami Marlins lineup at this point, and this has a lot to do with them just, again, completely tearing it down over the past number of years. They have a lot of, obviously, former top picks, as well as key IFA sightings in recent years and guys that they've acquired via trade from other organizations. Top down, we have Edwards there batting leadoff at the shortstop position. Otto Lopez, who we actually have on the thumbnail of today's pregame show, one of the few Marlins batters that I actually can say I know fairly comfortably. Then we have batting third, Pregame there at the DH spot. Batting fourth is Hill in center field. Batting fifth is Bride, who I do know to a degree at first base. Batting sixth is Myers, who I know to a degree in right field. Batting seventh is Hicks, that I don't know all too well at catcher. Batting eighth is Sanoja, if that's how you pronounce his name. I could have butchered it. I apologize if I did. I'm not sure if you go with a J or if you go with the I, if it's Spanish or something along those lines, so I apologize if it's butchered. He's going in left field. Don't know him. And then batting ninth, we have Paulie. They're at third base, another batter that I'm not too familiar with. So there's going to be a lot of learning for myself that's a very casual observer of the Miami Marlins, because I feel like most Marlins fans are casual observers of their team at this point in time, knowing they're in a full rebuild/retool headlined by Peter Bendix, among others. JR, great member. Daniel Caps, great member. Happy to have you guys in here. We appreciate you guys greatly, but I'm curious to know how you guys feel about Miami's lineup. Headline on the pitching position of Cal Quantrill. You guys remember Cal. He's been around the league for a couple years now. Has posted right around a 5-year rate the past couple years with Colorado Rockies. Among others, Cal really burst on the scene to start things up with the Cleveland Guardians. However, once the Guardians realized that they really couldn't get the best out of Cal anymore, they cut ties at the proper time, and Quantrill is more of an innings eater than anything else. But knowing the Mets and how the season has started from them offensively, wouldn't shock me in the slightest if Cal went solid 5 innings of Warner and run ball against the Mets today. We'll see what happens. I need to see the bats outside of Juan Soto actually do something of significance here throughout the first 3 games of the season. Not so much. But batting leadoff for the Mets, knowing Mr. Smile is on the shelf or at least available off the bench because of his new son Akoa just being born, we're going with star-studded Starling Marte. Marte might not have speed. Marte might not even have half his body, it feels like, because from the waist up, he's a lock of a 280 hitter in his sleep. From the waist down, it's a guy that used to be one of the best base stealers in Major League Baseball, and now I have my reservations as to how well he can handle horizontal movement. Falling off a cliff is the 37-year-old Marte with his overall physical ability now, but he is still a solid bat there at DH. Batting second is the one and only, the man who we know will be having a good game inevitably, and Juan Soto with just over a 1,300 OPS, not too shabby to begin the season. Batting third is the polar bear himself and Pete Alonso. Pete, who had, not the greatest first series for the Mets, but just one of many batters in the lineup who also didn't equally produce. Brandon Nimmo falls in that category as well, because outside being a plate setter, not getting too much from Nimmo. And some Mets fans asked me on X earlier today when the lineup first dropped as to Wardy, why are we going with Starling Marte in leadoff and not Brandon Nimmo? And I'd assume that this is the reason as to why, but Carlos Mendoza may have clarified that a little bit better right now publicly than what we know to this point, and that's as follows, everybody. Why would you put Brandon Nimmo in leadoff if you're trying to make sure he's no longer a leadoff hitter? Right? If you want Nimmo to actually be a guy that can drive in runs for more power and gap-to-gap ability by batting fourth or fifth throughout the entire course of the season, then the last thing you probably want to do is put him in a one-off leadoff role that could throw him off and make his approach change and going back to being the guy that's just trying to get on base, and that be that. Nimmo absolutely has all the makings to being a guy that can drive in runs, which is why he had 90 RBIs for the Mets last year that no one talks about because you wouldn't think it after his putrid second half dealing with the plantar fasciitis. But Nimmo had a roaring hot first half that we saw, and the power fluctuated, but he still hit over 20 home runs. So Nimmo, I'm more than fine keeping him batting fourth while having Marte at first, because let's also be honest with ourselves. Who's the better power hitter between Brandon Nimmo and Starling Marte? It'll always be Brandon Nimmo. Marte's not getting any younger. Yes, he can drive into one. It wouldn't shock me if he hit a home run in this Miami Marlins series against a team that he had a sliver of a sample size and playing time with there in Miami. But still, having said that, Nimmo has more of the raw power and raw gap-to-gap ability. I'd anticipate more good things to come out of him on the slugging front than Marte, who does have a greater ability to be a plate setter. The only downside with Marte is, okay, if he gets on with a single or gets on with a walk, how well is he going to run the bases? And that's something that we're really not going to know too much until we see it happen. So Marte is in leadoff that we see, which leads us to Soto, Alonso, Nimmo. Batting fifth is the man from Florida, has all the ties. He's pretty much the homegrown kid here, and that's why I have him on the pregame thumbnail. And that's Swaggy V and Mark Vientos, baby. I'm looking for a big series for Mark here, not just because he's in Miami, a very familiar territory for him, but more so because this is a park that I think will really play up to his abilities and what these pitching matchups are destined to be. Batting 6 is Luis Torrens, who is one of the few Mets hitters that not have one, but 2 extra base hits that we saw in that Houston series, both opposite field doubles. Batting 7th is Brett Beatty, looking for his first hit of the year and looking like he can hopefully be a guy that doesn't look completely outmatched every time out there. Batting 8th is going to be Luis Angel Acuna, getting the key start at shortstop, something that he did oh so well for the Mets with Francisco Lindor down with injury with his back towards the end of last season. Let's see if Acuna can pick up right where he left off last year when called upon in that same position. And batting 9th is the human highlight reel, the man who didn't even swing the bat, got himself a walk, and ultimately scored a run himself in what was a unofficial stolen home because they labeled a fielder's choice, even though we all know he stole home. And that was Jose Siri against his former team there in Houston in that series finale, 2-1 loss. Siri, a human electric factory, a true highlight reel. We're going to see some great defense display today and some great base running too. When I look at the speed element, guys, of the bottom of the line, Beatty, Acuna, Siri, there's a lot of athleticism here. And you know what? If we can get one or both of Acuna and Siri, especially to get on base for them, the top of the line up there with Marte, Soto, Alonso, that could be a great story for success for this Mets team on the offensive end in their matchup tonight against the Miami Marlins squad that obviously is going to be focused more on the rebuild, retool stage than anything else this season and their own personal player development. Not on a scale, but rather, I want to hear from you guys in the chat right now, everybody. Can we get a spam yays and nays in the chat right now in our replay viewers? Let's see in the comments down below. That'd be appreciated. Let's get some yays and nays in the chat to see if you guys are for or against the Mets lineup today. The only criticism that I've really heard is Marte at DH, but my counter is, who else are you putting there? You know what I mean? Like, I think Marte's more than fine there for tonight's game in a one-off situation. Now, if we went a week with Marte, then that would be a different discussion. Then I'd be like, all right, let's pump the brakes here. This is nonsense. But for now, for tonight's game between David Pearson and Cal Quantrill, I don't hate it whatsoever. Cal is not a flamethrower. He's a soft-tossing righty. I like this matchup a lot for David Pearson. He's had plenty of success in Miami. It feels like yesterday that David Pearson was robbed of what was a quality start on his end, but the Mets, again, lost that game. I want to say this was at least 2 years ago, if not longer, because Nick Fortes hit a freaking tank to left to give them like the late lead. It was so frustrating. But if I actually go through StatMuse right now, and shout out to StatMuse, awesome website to find out key stat information, especially when you're looking up kind of, more niche stuff. So looking up David Pearson stats versus Marlins. And David Pearson's career stats versus Miami are as follows. He has a 4-2 record with a 2.8 ERA and 44 strikeouts in 9 games there, including a total of 45 innings. So almost a strikeout per inning has been David Pearson when facing Miami, as last time he faced Miami was in Miami that we saw on July 22nd of last season. He went 5 innings of 6 hit, 2 earned run ball, allowed 1 home run, and he walked a total of 4, so didn't have the command on his side. Let's see how many guys he struck out in this matchup. Struck out 4. The start before that was at home for the Mets, and he went 5 innings of 4 earned run balls, so it didn't favor too well there that we saw, and that was actually either his first or second start last year coming back from the hip surgery, because that was June 12th. He arrived back with the Mets right around the beginning of June, if I'm not mistaken. That was either the first or second start of the year for him. Prior to that, we saw him go 7 shutty against Miami towards the end of the 2023 season, including a total of 8 strikeouts and 4 hits allowed and 4 walks. So the walks actually have been a bugaboo. Wow, look at that. 2 of the last 3 starts he's had against Miami, he's walked 4 batters. So that's going to be a key thing for him to try to eliminate in this matchup against the Marlins. Obviously, a lesser lineup than previous years, on paper at least. But I've seen him dominate in this ballpark, and we saw him go 5 innings in 2023, allowed 8 hits, but only surrendered 1 earned run and had himself 1 walk that time around. Prior to that, we saw him in Miami actually not have a deep game at all, only going 3.2 innings. So the start, I must be thinking it has to be this one, going back to June 26th of 2022, 7 innings of 2 earned run ball, 1 home run allowed. That definitely was Nick Fortes, and he was nails. So that frustrated me out of that one. But yeah, David Pearson, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. First start of the year for the Mets. Pearson, I predicted heading into the year in the Rico Bronia podcast in the season preview with Evan Roberts and Pete Hoffman that I think Pearson will lead the Mets in innings eaten this year for the squad. He had Tyler McGill, which I thought was funny, and Pete had Canning, which I thought was a respectable pick. Let's see here, Tyler, you'd be better batting 7th. I wouldn't go that far. Very low bar here, Dave. Very, very low bar. You know, that's funny though. And I do just want to get on to one quick tangent for each and every one of you, because I've been relaying this, guys, and I know you guys have appreciated it because we already have like 25 to 30 people already on the priority list where we're already getting close to a sellout if every one of you guys actually purchases the tickets. But guys, we are currently in the process of doing Wardy events set up at Citi Field this year. And in order to make these events happen, I need you guys to show up. I need you guys to actually have interest in wanting to partake and hanging out with your guy Wardy at Mets games for a full Mets game experience and a nice sit area. Might be a suite type thing where we can hopefully get some early access to things, whether it's on field among others. I'm throwing this out there because we have something currently, I can't officially say it because we're throwing out the priority list for a reason. If you guys want to attend a game with Wardy, at least one, if not multiple with me this season, all you guys got to do to get on the priority list, which means that when we officially unveil the announcement, the date, the ticket price, all that stuff, you guys will get first dibs on said tickets. Simply hit up my email, which is down below in the description, is officialwardynym@gmail.com. Send me your name and how many tickets you would need, and you guys will be automatically added to the priority list. Like I said, we have, as things are currently standing, 25 to 30 people, and we were looking at a range initially of 40, so we may already be in the process of doubling our initial expectations for this outing, depending on how many of you guys have interest. So again, check it out, officialwardynym@gmail.com. Send your name and the amount of tickets that you want, and then I will get back to you as soon as, 1, we have it officially unveiled, and 2, that you have reached the cutoff for our priority list. Oh, you just moved to Nashville, Matt? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Well, if you do attend to hit any games, obviously, throughout the course of the season, hopefully I'll see you there. Dave, thank you so much for the donation. You say, I answered that, Dave, about batting 7th. Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for the donation. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. I missed the one from earlier on Beatty. Dave says, Beatty couldn't hit it even with a torpedo bat. I mean, here's the thing. It might not be good for Beatty. It might be, because it's really for guys that, you know, especially depending on where they're barreling usually. That's where this is an Anthony Volpe type conversation, especially, which is one in hand with why the Yankees have operated the way that they do. It doesn't work for every batter. It works more so, especially if you're trying to, you know, be one of those guys that's getting constantly sawed off, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to evaluate more on the torpedoes, but we will have a greater discussion on it over the next day on the platform. I'm beginning to think Brett Beatty has a psychological hurdle. I mean, that goes without saying. There's a big mental game that comes with actually being a Major League Baseball player, especially as a former top draft pick, a former top prospect that hasn't been able to establish himself yet with a lot of heavy competition around him. So yeah, I think for obvious reasons that this is a psychological hurdle for him. He's a good player. It's just about really putting these tools together and putting the right bat on the ball, getting the right swing, because we've seen him just look completely outmatched at times at the MLB level for sure. Let's go Mets Indeed Sportscast. Happy to have you in here. Let's see, get a win for my birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Sportscast. Congratulations to you. Anyone that's your birthday today or birthday upcoming, I know my buddy Richie from Jets Media and Knicks Media, it's his birthday tomorrow. So happy early birthday to my guy. And he is actually going to be a fun factor, a part of the stuff that we're setting up at Citi Field this year. So you guys will be able to interact with him too when we do these events. If you guys are Jets fans and know Jets Media, if you're Knicks fans and you know Knicks Media, for my OGs that know Mets Media, when we did a podcast together throughout the first season that we covered for the most part, then you guys will get a chance to interact with Richie at said events that I mentioned earlier too. Ethan, how you doing? Do I have a date in I can't give you guys a specific date because I don't want to give you a date and then say, oh, we're doing a different one. But as of now, it is going to be later on in summer. It's not going to be in the beginning of summer. We have separate things that we are setting up actively, already beginning as soon as the months of May, April, June, 4 different things, but not all of them are events to the point of just being like, oh, attending a game of Wardy. Some of them are going to be different, and I'm going to explain it further once I can make it public. I just can't announce everything publicly until we have our everything crossed off right now. We're looking great. Everything's good, and you guys being added to the priority list has really sped this thing up to make it a reality, so thank you kindly for that. But yeah, just check it out once more. Official WardyNYM at gmail.com. If you guys want to hit a game at Wardy this year, send your full name and tickets that you'd have interest in. Again, they will not be the cheapest tickets. I'll be blunt by saying that they will be a little costly just because this is going to be like an all-day event type thing. This is not like, oh, you're just going to the game and that's it. There will be pregame perks that come along with it, especially that will be really cool to relay to each and every one of you once I can actually do that. Let's see. Shout out to you in Fort Myers, Florida. Oh, thank you so much, Thomas. God bless, my man. Hope all is well for you in Fort Myers. And again, really appreciate the support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Oh, to Phil, you're not wrong, but it's hilarious wordplay, right? Different strokes for different folks. You're not wrong when talking about the bats, but pause. Zach Flakerton, how you doing, baby? The Twins got shut out by the White Sox are good. Will Van Abel is him. Will Van Abel, who the Mets actually considered for a managerial role years ago, has been with a bunch of organizations, Red Sox especially. Zach Scott knows him plenty. Great hire for the White Sox. Very happy that it feels like they have a voice in the room that actually cares. That's going to lead them on the right path to actually having success. The White Sox already are like on pace to like double their win total from last year, if not triple. It's hilarious. Your son Jaden will play in Georgia, but you guys are based from Florida. That's awesome, Victor. Wishing the best for your son. I don't know what age he is or anything like that, and that's fine. You don't need to tell me. But from one father to another, especially one like yourself who's more seasoned, my little one isn't even a year old yet, but we're already in the early goings and putting a little bat in his hand, and he's taking his little hacks. He's having fun with it. So, yeah, congratulations on that. I'm wishing your son the best of luck this season. Let's see, guys. When is McNeil coming back? No big update on Jeff just yet. What we know to this point with McNeil is that he's just continuing to ramp up, coming back from his injury. Everything's looking good coming back from that oblique, so I'm not overly concerned. But now it'll be a big question as to how do Acuna and Beatty perform or lack thereof leading up to McNeil's arrival to dictate, do the Mets have a problem on their hands, like a good problem on their hands? Is it a situation where they don't have a problem on their hands and they're just going to roll right away with Jeff Beck at second and then send one of Acuna or Beatty down? That may very well be the reality, but there's some time from then until now, so we'll see it. And as we talked about in our video that dropped yesterday, check it out in case you guys haven't already, but Francisco Alvarez is trending upward as his rehab is looking good. He's already catching with his actual hand that he had the surgery on his hamate bone on, softballs, so that's good. Step in the right direction for him. He's hoping to return before the month of May, and that would be amazing if that happens. That gave my hopes up on it, but that really would be cool if it does in fact become a reality. Beyond that, there hasn't been too much, just that Shamanai is throwing. Frankie Montas was cleared through his MRIs, so all good stuff there. Nothing to really complain about. Let me double check on X, though, to make sure that there aren't any key points I want to share with you guys today in particular regarding anything Mets-centric. So just give me 1 second, everybody. Because sometimes when I'm doing the shows live, information gets relayed from reports and stuff like that, especially when it's in the pregame setting. Okay, don't believe I'm seeing anything here. Pete Alonso, 9 minutes ago, we see this from Mike Puma of the New York Post, saying, I will probably order some and try them out, but I think it's the Indian and not the Arrow. And he's 100% right. That I actually, shout out to Pete. That's a fun quote. I really like that. It's not the Indian, but it's the Arrow, 100%. Again, that's basically saying that just because anyone gets a torpedo-style bat doesn't mean it's going to work for them. Alonso doesn't really need a torpedo bat because of the type of batter that he is, especially the type of slugger that he already is. That's why Aaron Judge, you don't see him using a torpedo bat because he doesn't need to. It only works for specific batters based on their style, especially when they're trying to increase power ability a bit. Not necessarily the case for someone like Pete, but it is interesting to hear that he will, in fact, be utilizing that when looking to see if he'll be testing them out. And we're talking about the torpedo bats, obviously, as Francisco Lindor is currently the only Mets batter that has one, that he was acquiring it towards the end of spring training. Rangers signed Perot and he will play. Yes, Dave, I'm both happy and sad about that as a New York Ranger fan, and here's why. I'm brief tangent because we got the donation from our great friend on the chat, Dave. Gabe Perot, who is a tremendous college athlete that the Rangers drafted a couple years ago. He's been dominating that we've seen in D1 hockey, and now he's signing and will be making his Ranger debut as soon as tomorrow. The problem with that, however, is that as long as Perot plays the expected numbers of games that he may play, it's going to automatically burn the first year of his entry-level contract, and that's not ideal. The entire point of calling up someone like him is to try to maximize his usage, but at the same time, the Rangers of Chris Drury are going to operate however which way they seem and deem fit, whether you guys like it or not. So that goes hand with Gabe Perreault getting the call. We're towards the end of the season, giving him an opportunity. But yes, depending on his playing time, he may very well have his first year of that entry-level contract burned just by playing that limited sample size. What's up, Fred? Great member here. Hope you're doing great, my man. Happy to have you. We got our guy, Luis Vega. Hey, Worry, I was in Houston for Friday's game. Now I'm in Miami to see the Mets. Oh, I'm loving it, babe. You're traveling all over the place. I'm blessed to be able to do both. That is awesome, and I'm glad that you are as humble as one can be about it. You know, on Friday, did the Mets win or lose their game on Friday? Let's do the math here. They didn't play us. They won their game on Friday, so you lucked out. You lucked out, Luis. You were at the game where they actually won on Friday because the season started on Thursday. Great stuff. Awesome, and hope that the winning continues that we see heading into this series against Miami. Miguel, no need to be the schmuck of the day saying get rid of Mendoza. Why be thick-headed? I mean, that's like such a clickbait headline. Like, is it time for the Mets to get rid of Carlos Mendoza after a 1-2 start? Like, we're not that desperate, are we? Come on. The storm, it's coming. I hope by storm you mean the Mets offense simply tears things down in Miami. And speaking of storms, guys, to everyone attending opening day weekend, home opener weekend rather, I wish you all the best of luck. Sadly, it looks like the weather isn't looking too hot for that series against the Blue Jays. I don't know how it's going to be when I go to that Miami Marlins game on April 9th. But I also don't know if that's going to be a factor because where I'll be sitting will be more in a section that will hopefully have an overhang and everything. But yeah, it's not looking great. So hopefully the weather clears up better for everyone that'll be attending the Mets home opener. And one final thing I did want to share with you guys before we wrap up this pregame show, because I'm not going to be long-winded for pregame shows. I certainly enjoy them, and I enjoy doing this rundown with each and every one of you. Raphael, happy to have you in here, my friend. Hope you're well. Continue to smash a like and subscribe on everybody. If you guys can help us get to 150 likes by the end of the live show, where half you guys just smash those buttons. Subscribe, because once we hit 33,000 subscribers, we're just like 600 away. We're giving away a Mets jersey of whatever player you currently want on the roster, all just for subscribing and being part of the WardyNYM crew. So thank you guys kindly for that. But I did have one thing that I want to show you guys here for a quick second, and this has to do with my latest segment with the New York Post. All right, guys, if you didn't see already, head over to the New York Post Sports YouTube channel, as I'm an active contributor for them, usually on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. Really just depends on like the key topics going on with the Mets. And with my guy Brandon London, who's a fantastic host, also former NFL player with the New York Giants and the Miami Marlins, or if it's my guy Dexter Henry, who also does a fantastic job. They had me on today to talk about the Mets dropping their first series of the year, previewing the Marlins series, and a bit on Lindor. And on the Lindor topic in particular, this is what I had to say.
Francisco Lindor, another all-star. Well, he went 0-for-11 in that series. He started off slow last year, Wardy. He ended up turning it up, and he ended the season in the race for the NL MVP. So he doesn't know why the slow start. Do you have the why on why he went 0-for-11?
Yeah, I think this is just a continuation of what Lindor has been for a good chunk of his career now. I mean, if you go back to his very early seasons in 2016, 2017, he got off to hotter starts then. But mind you, that's, north of a decade ago now as we're looking at things. So Lindor at this point in his career, he's just trying to make sure that, one, he can stay healthy for the full 162, especially with last season derailing a little bit there with his back injury, unfortunately, by literally carrying the team on his back, pun intended and all. But to see what he has done now for the Mets entering this season, I remember his initial interview that he had heading into spring, saying that his approach was actually different a bit this year, and it went in hand with kind of a bit more of a faster pace, but not all in at the same time. So I think for Lindor, he's going to continue to have that slow rise to his stardom throughout the course of the year, but especially now after welcoming his son into this world as of this past 24 hours. So congratulations to the Lindor family. Maybe that's going to be a nice early spark, because there has been a trend every single time that he has had one of his kids born in the previous 2 years with his daughters. He's went on an absolute tear of a home run spree. So if you're going to hammer Lindor, it's absolutely now the time to do so.
Have kids hit homers. I love it.
Shout out to Brandon London and our friends at the New York Post Sports YouTube channel. As always, I appreciate doing everything that I've been doing with them, and you guys will see plenty more of that, especially whenever I'm in the city. We'll be doing segments with them in studio, among many other things. So be on the lookout. A lot of fun happening with the Post this year. But now let's go back to this slide. Let me answer some comments before we get out of here. Sean says here, remember 19 months. Love you, Sean. I'm doing great, my man. How are you? Happy to have you in here. Pat W. with the $5 holla says, Mets lineup is up, Soto, Alonso, Torrens, and down. Taylor, Marte, and Beatty. Relief pitching has been nails. Starting pitching good, but needs length. I agree on the length part, but pitching for the most part has been fantastic, and I emphasize that further in my New York Post Sports YouTube segment today for you guys to check out on their official YouTube channel. But guys, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Francisco Lindor having another slow start to the year. Also, your thoughts on him and the bat he's utilizing. Like I said, we'll emphasize that more in tonight's post game, and certainly in our Big Mets updates video, because it's just it's a very fascinating topic right now, which I personally don't have any actual problems with it. But if it becomes a problem, then naturally I'll have a problem with it then, and we'll have that proper discourse. But guys, thank you kindly. It really does mean a lot. Victor, I appreciate the support as well. Let's see. Shout out my son's team, JSM. Shout out JSM, baby. Appreciate you watching. And I will see you all again, guys, in our post-game segment later tonight. Win, lose, or draw. One more time, if you would like to experience a game at Wardy at Citi Field this year, in order to get on the pre-sale priority list, basically, simply head over to officialwardynym@gmail.com. Email me your full name and the amount of tickets you'd have interest in. Fair warning, again, they will not be the cheapest tickets, but they won't be the most expensive either. Pretty happy medium for what we will be offering to each and every one of you guys, so that way it makes sense for everything that we're promoting. So thank you guys again, and also once more, just if you don't chime into our post-game content for whatever reason, you're missing out. Certainly, if that's going to be the case. But if you do, make sure you check out our official Mets Marlins watch party. That's linked down below in the description, that you can become a member right away to be a part of the playback crew there and watch the game in real time with me tomorrow in the app. And if not, if you want to watch my broadcast on YouTube, where I just show the scoreboard and still do some play-by-play and interacting throughout the game, you can do that as well, as it would be simulcasted live at the same time in playback.tv and its app, as well as here on YouTube tomorrow throughout the entirety of the game. Thank you guys again. As always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.